Okay, so we're going to get into part three of this chapter, where basically we're talking about how Jesus Christ had to come to know what it was like to be like us in order for him to receive his exaltation. And the first steps of doing that actually happened before this earth was ever created because of the doctrine of eternal lives. We understand that he lived on older earths. So we'll get into that, and that's what this chapter is about. So this is the fullness, a fullness of glory, uh, chapter 15, I think, part 3.
The Fullness of Glory, Part 3 of Chapter 15 of Mysteries of Creation by Ogden Kraut. Page 149. As Alma said, "And he will take upon him their infirmities, that his bowels may be filled with mercy, according to the flesh, that he may know according to the flesh how to succor his people according to their infirmities." Alma chapter 7 verse 12, Brigham Young said it would be foolish to petition a God who never had any experience with the adverse difficulties of our mortal life. How else could he understand hunger without feeling the pangs in the stomach? How could he know about cold and hot, joy and sorrow without possessing mortal senses and having human emotions? Joseph Smith said that it was necessary that man have to suffer that they may come upon Mount Zion and be exalted above the heavens. Doctrinal History of the Church Volume 5 page 556, and
So I really like what Brigham Young and Joseph Smith say here. But let me tell you what my stance is on Brigham Young. So I don't believe he was the Lord's anointed, but I do believe he learned a lot from Joseph Smith and that he tried to figure it out to the best of his ability. I believe he did receive some inspiration on this, but I don't believe everything that he ever said is pure doctrine. So I don't hold him up as the Lord's anointed, but if he was inspired or not, yes, he could have been inspired, and I believe he was in certain things. But the reason I don't accept him as the Lord's anointed is because Jesus Christ rejected the church with their dead. That's Doctrine and Covenants, section 124. And I've gone over it plenty of times, so I'm not going to get into it now. But but Brigham Young understood what Joseph Smith taught, and Joseph Smith taught that God was once a man. And coming to its logical conclusion, and this is the best. Like, I love this theology. I know it's true, but I love it because, like, for the Christian God, like, okay, so yeah, he came down on the earth, he had to go through some things, but he didn't have to go through all of the things, you know. But with understanding the doctrine of eternal lives, he has gone through not all of the things, but all of the things that are associated with men. So, and God are like his wife going through multiple mortal probations and the doctrine of eternal lives. She went through everything that women go through, everything. And is there one in purpose and one in unity? Um, they understand each other a great deal more than the Christian God understands us because they've gone through it all. So this is more evidence of the doctrine of eternal lives, which was taught in the early church, which the majority of the people did not understand because they just were not ready for it. And I think that the reason why God allowed Joseph Smith and Brigham Young to have somewhat of a grasp on these things is because they, like the Father, our Father, knew that there would be people like myself who would hear these things and that we would be able to have a grasp of it and that we would know to turn to the Father to understand it more fully. So Like with the Christian God, everybody who doesn't accept Jesus Christ is damned to hell, which they think is a fiery lake where they're destroyed, but they're not really destroyed because they burn in a lake of fire forever and ever and ever. And like that God to me is a monster. If that God existed, I would have to worship him and follow him out of a duty of self-preservation, but not out of a duty to love, because I love them. And why do I love them? Well, for me, it started out, um, I knew enough about them because of my grandparents, because they did try to teach me whatever they could teach me. I mean, my grandparents were missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They went on 7 missions. My grandfather was a double-leg amputee of World War II, and my grandma was a veteran. She was in the Navy Corps. She was a nurse. That's how they met. My grandpa lost his legs. He was shipped off to Angel Island, and she helped him get better, along with other people as well. But like she helped him a lot, and like it's kind of funny because like somehow he got a hold of some polka dotted gown, like nurse's gown, and I don't know if it was the same one, but my grandma had this gown, hospital gown, that she used to put around us whenever she would cut our hair, and it was polka dotted. And I don't know if it was the same one. And they're passed on now. My grandparents would be 102 now. Both of them would be 102 because they were both born in 1923. But but she like thought it was interesting that or like I don't know, he had a character about him. So anyway, got this guy yapping on the CB radio, like turn it off, and then this other guy, 1 million safe miles, CR England, and I was passing him, but he didn't let me get past him. Now he's passing me, so that's great. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. And I'm gonna get over to let these people go past. Anyway, all right. So what was I talking about? Oh, like they tried to help me out, and like they took their daughters on the missions with them when they were raising them. So, they did try to help me out to understand certain things. So I had those thoughts in my head when I finally came down to the very bottom of my life. After I tried to commit suicide, I was using drugs and alcohol to not be conscious because I was so suicidal. Um, and God healed me from all that, and they showed me their love. And they like God showed me his love for me, and um, and then when I had my experiences with them, like he really showed me his love, and I love him because he loves me, and I love him because he saved me, and I love him because he wants his he wants my best interest. Like he wants to help me grow and to learn. And that's what he wants for all of us. And like God's love is his power. It motivates him to do what he does for us. It motivates all of them to do what they love do for us. But also Jesus's love for the Father motivated him to to partake of the cup that he wanted to pass from him, because he knew that Michael descended from celestial glory in um, in the plan so that he could be the Adam of this world. He left his throne above to do that. So, and the only way that Michael and Ashura could get back to the glory that they once had, that they willingly gave up for us, was to for the atonement to happen. So, and it's interesting too. Like if this was just something that I wanted to do for my own um, amusement, I wouldn't do it. Like this thing that I'm doing right now, it's not the easiest thing in the world, but I do it because I love them, and I know that they love me, and I love you, and you are all of my little brothers and sisters, and I want to help you understand the truth and to progress, to gain a higher level of resurrection. So that's why I do these things. And it's hard, and I get burned out. I do all the time. I really want to go home. Like, one of the things about the veil is, like, you don't remember what it's like to be in their presence. And that's actually a blessing, because you've got things to do in this world, and it's good that you're doing them, because it's helping you to progress. But if you knew what it was like to be in their presence, you would want to go home. You would want to go home, because this world sucks. And like, I don't doubt that Joseph Smith felt the same way that I feel. Like, I'm pretty sure that he had to deal with depression and anger and sorrow and all of those things. And that, having all of those things that we in mortality have to deal with, and then knowing what it's like to be in the presence of the Father and the Son, like, not just to see them every once in a while in a vision, but to know what it's like to be in their presence. This world is, it's harder. It's already hard, but it's harder to know what it's like to be home. And I get homesick. I get homesick. I want to go home, but I know that Zion cannot be redeemed. I know that um, that Adam and Diamond will not happen unless there is a people who live all that God has commanded. And I want them to come here, because after all, this earth is where we come to in the millennium. This earth, in its terrestrial glory, will be a heaven on earth compared to the celestial world that we live today. And when we're caught up to meet him in the air, um, the word, um, the words there indicate in Greek, because the New Testament's in Greek, to that the people go out to meet an arriving dignitary, or an arriving king. Like, we're caught up for just a little bit. We go up there, we meet him, and then we come back. And also God showed me that all of the righteous heathen that have not had the opportunity to understand who Jesus is, that they would be transfigured like Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego when the burning and the cleansing happens on this earth. And I'm not talking about just the cleansing of the North American continent. I'm talking, that happens before, and that happens because of wars and bloodshed. But I'm talking about when Jesus Christ comes down, the second coming happens. Everybody sees him in the east. Um, our glory, his glory combined with our glory, as we as we return, will cleanse the earth as by fire. And the wicked will be destroyed. And the righteous heathen, the good people of the earth who did not have the opportunity, who are in mortality when this happens, they will not burn with it. They will be transfigured like Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, and they will endure the fire, but they will not know what in the world is happening. They have no idea. And God showed me that all of the returned missionaries and their spouses, um, that 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 come back in the first resurrection, that they will all be trained in these missionary training centers, and that they will go out and they will teach the heathens who have survived the cleansing, um, all about Jesus Christ and all about the gospel plan of salvation, the whole thing. They're going to teach them all. So they're going to witness the Savior. They're going to see the fire. They're not going to be harmed by it. And then in one generation, the first generation after the return of Jesus Christ, which is a little bit into the seventh seal, which we're in now, because the seventh seal, actually, Jesus doesn't come at the beginning of the seventh seal, but but um, but within the first generation after Jesus returns, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is the Redeemer of the world. They will all know about it within that generation. So, yeah, that's a pretty long video for that such a short segment, but I feel like somebody needs to hear it out there. So sometimes I go on. That's why, for one, um, I do the full video of the chapter, so you can have it uninterrupted by me and all my commentary and all my thoughts and all my tangents. Because if people don't want to listen to me, that's fine. But I still want them to see these quotes. I still want them to read these things and to like work it out and try to understand what in the world is being taught here, because these things are not being taught in church because they have rejected the meat of the gospel. In Isaiah chapter 28, it talks about the one mighty and strong who comes among the drunkards of Ephraim. And why are they drunk? It's because they're drunk on the spirit of Babylon the Great. These are the tribe of Ephraim in the last days. This is the church. It even says all of their priests and their prophets are out of the way. That's the Latter-day Church. That's the work of the Son, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and all of the break-offs that came out of Nauvoo. All of them are out of the way. The humble followers of Christ are few, but in many instances they are led by the precepts of men, meaning they have a lot of false doctrine among them. But it says in Isaiah 28 that all of their tables are full of vomit and filth. And what is that? That is that they look upon the meat of the gospel as though it is vomit and filth. That's what they look at, like the Adam God doctrine, multiple mortal probations, the gathering to one place, like rebaptism was a doctrine which was taught in the early parts of the Restoration. United orders and the law of consecration in its fullness. Like they look at all of these things, the Adam God doctrine, whatever, they look at all these things as though it is filth and vomit and putrid, because they have a desire to be more like everyone else. They have the spirit of Babylon the Great upon them. They want to be like the Christians of the world so they can be accepted. So they get rid of the uniqueness of the Restoration and dumb it down, and then you're taught watered down skim milk. And if anybody even attempts to bring, like any kind of meat, the people choke on it. unfortunately. But I know that there's those of you out there that know something's wrong. You don't know quite exactly what it is, and God is opening up the veil to help you understand these deeper things. And that's why there had to be one mighty and strong to set the house of God in order, which Isaiah chapter 28 talks about that, and also Doctrine and Covenants section 85. While that man who is called and appointed, somebody in leadership position, and he's not called and appointed of God, he's called and appointed by the people through common consent, reaches forth his hand to steady the ark. Well, the church had been rejected. He doesn't have the authority he thinks that he has. And he tries to steady the ark at some point, and he'll be destroyed for it. So, but there is one who is mighty and strong that God does send. Jesus said he would send him. I'm one of them. I'm the main one, actually, for this dispensation. There was Joseph Smith, who is also mighty and strong, and there are 3 others who are to assist with this, like Peter, James, and John. And in fact, they'll be the presidents. They'll have the presidency of the church. I won't. Being the Lord's anointed doesn't mean that you are the president of the church. So, anyway, let's get on to the next part. Sorry this video is so long, but yeah, all right.
Not only does the Savior have to experience these things and obey these laws, but he has to comply with certain ordinances in order to receive a fullness of power and glory. The prophet Joseph referred to the importance of ordinances. The question is frequently asked, can we not be saved without going through with all those ordinances? I would answer, no, not the fullness of salvation. And any person who is exalted to the highest mansion has to abide a celestial law, and the whole law, too. Teachings of the Prophet Joseph Smith, page 331. Jesus had to go through life choosing, obeying, and acting upon free agency the same as we do. Paul said, for in that he himself hath suffered being tempted, he is able to succour them that are tempted. Hebrews chapter 2 verse 18. Also, for we have not an high priest which cannot be touched with the feeling of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Hebrews chapter 4 verse 15. Although he had supreme understanding, he also had equal temptations. Knowing as he did of the gospel plan, he still could have refused and failed.
So, in order to receive your exaltation, according to Joseph Smith, you have to keep the law perfectly, which Jesus did. And we have not. We don't even understand the fullness of the law like he did. So, all those people out there that think, oh, I'll just get baptized and go to the temple and go on a mission and get married and raise 7 children. That's how many children I have. I want more. I love my kids. Love them. And watching my youngest get older is like I can't wait to have grandchildren. Anyway, but Jesus had to go through all of the experiences, and he had to live the law perfectly to receive his exaltation, which is what we also have to do. We have to live the law perfectly, meaning we have to be like him to receive our exaltation. I don't even get exalted until that happens. I have to go through another probation where I am the Redeemer. I'm preparing for that now, and I'll prepare through that all the way up until I am called as the Redeemer of a world. And when I'm prepared, I will be ready and I will live that life. And then I will become an Adam, just like Michael, who is a Redeemer on an older earth. and then I'll become an Elohim, and that's the plan. That is the steps. That is the progression of the gods. And a lot of people will be like, "Oh, I don't want to come back on another Earth." I get it. I understand it more than you do. Like, I know life is hard even when you have it easy. It's still hard. There's always something. But I understand it because I know what it's like to leave their presence. And you will know what it's like to leave their presence, but then the veil was put on you. So some of you understand a little more than others, but to be in their presence and then to have to come back into this world, it's a difficult thing. But this is what some of us have been foreordained to do. And we've got to be strong and diligent and do what we have been foreordained to do, but also what we agreed to. Many of you out there who are mighty and strong, you agreed to doing this. And yes, many are called, few are chosen. And it's partly because you're still in the veil and you're still trapped in your traditions. And let me tell you, to be trapped in your traditions is to believe the lies of false doctrine, false gospel, you know, like to believe the lies that Jesus and Jehovah are the same person. And you're given strong delusion that y'all might be damned because you don't love the truth enough to go to God to find out if, who they really are, or if your doctrine that you believe is true. Because the only interpretation that matters is the Father's. Mine doesn't matter. Yours doesn't matter. Gordon B. Hinckley's doesn't matter. Thomas Monson, like they matter to a point, but you have to go to the Father to get the correct interpretation and to find out if what you believe is true. Because I can speak 100% plain and clear truth to you, and you can even misinterpret it based upon the traditions that help you to see or be blind. You still, even if you repeat word for word whatever I say, you still have to go to the Father to make sure that what it is that you believe is true, and you have to work it out. And like, there's times when I misspeak. Happens all the time. Like, and I'll listen to these videos that I make, and they'll be like, "Oops, I misspoke there," you know. But it's published, and I'm going on to the next one, and sometimes, like I said, I misspeak. So, that's part of the reason why you don't place your trust in man. You have to go to God. So, anyway, this is the last part um, of that part. um, so, I'm just gonna say one thing before I go and work on the next part. I hate people who buy Jeeps. I hate them. They drive like idiots, and they usually have to put all this aftermarket crap on their vehicles, and they always, not always, I want to generalize, I'm just saying what I see all the time. They want to put these stupid headlights in that are not they're not factory headlights. They are like, even on dim, they blind you. And then they want to sit behind the truck, the semi truck, and we've got this mirror that's like 2.5 feet, that catches all the light, and then it just shines it right in our face, and it's just, ugh. And then the other thing that they do, and everybody does this, not everybody, lots of people do this. Stop cutting us off. It takes us over 300 feet to stop. If you're getting in front of us, like within 50 feet or 100 feet, stop doing that. Stop it. Like, give us space. And if somebody's tailgating you, let them get in, or let them cut me off, because they're going faster than you, and they'll get out of the danger zone before you will. So I don't. People live in this blind oblivion. They don't understand how dangerous it is to be around trucks. Like even driving next to us, yeah, the majority of the time everything's going to be fine until one of our wheels blows. That happens, and it damages cars, causes accidents, or worse, from time to time. Anyway, um, today is Turkey Day, the 27th of November, 2025 on Thursday. And I am headed to Moroni, Turkey, and I think I said this in the last video, to the place where all turkeys are butchered. They actually use the CO2 to hyperfreeze to preserve the freshness of the turkey after it's butchered. But I believe that they use the CO2 uh, to kill the turkeys because CO2 displaces the air. And I didn't know this before I started delivering CO2, but did you know that they use CO2 in the gas chambers in Nazi Germany? It's I don't understand why people could do such horrible things to people. One of the things that really, like, I learn a lot about history, and just to know how evil and how horrible people have been to each other on this earth, it breaks my heart. Every time I learn about it, every time I think about it, it just breaks my heart. So, but we're getting to the phase of this earth. Well, that's not going to happen anymore, but we do have to go through some hard things before we get to that point. So, especially if you are not going to be part of the remnant. And in that case, good luck. I know some of you are going to make it because there will be patriots out there still fighting when we come down with the fullness of the priesthood out of the mountains and assist those patriots who are left. But I'm glad I don't have to go through that. So, all right, well, I'm going to get on to the next part. Thank you for watching this part. Bye.